Welcome to episode 28 of Keepin' It a Hundo, the first episode of 2019. Happy holidays. I'm your host, Matty Hundo. Today's guest is Myron Rolle. He's not your typical retired NFL player. His pedigree is second to none. At 32, he's already played in the NFL, completed med school, a Harvard residency, and is currently a neurosurgeon at Mass General Hospital in Boston. Not to mention, he finished Florida State in 3 years and went on to become a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford. This decision didn't go without scrutiny, though. This is something he was definitely criticized for and remembered for. He passed up a chance at going in the first round of the NFL draft to continue his education. After his year at Oxford, he was drafted by the Tennessee Titans, but keep in mind it was in the 6th round instead of the 1st. This is a guy who was the #1 recruit coming out of high school as a safety. He was also a first-team freshman All-American at Florida State. Played a couple years in the NFL. In 2010, he was ranked the 2nd smartest athlete in all of sports. I'm not really sure how you quantify that, but you get the point. He definitely has friends in high places as well, including former President Clinton, who he's gone on trips with to Africa to do humanitarian work, and current Trump cabinet member Ben Carson, who was instrumental in Myron's pursuit of becoming a neurosurgeon. And let's not forget friend of the podcast, EJ Manuel, who made this thing possible. He's a good friend of EJ's, and EJ is one of my closest friends, so big shout out to EJ for making this thing happen. I met with Dr. Rolle a couple days before Christmas in a penthouse high above the Zakim Bridge in North Station. Amazing view. It was my second time meeting Myron. The first time we met, we ran into each other at a Celtics game. I had the pleasure of meeting his parents as well at the game. It just told me a little bit about his character, that his parents were in town for his birthday and he chose to spend his birthday with his parents at a Celtics game, so he gets extra credit for that. But the fact that he spent his birthday with his parents who don't live in Boston, and that was important to him and important to them, that says a lot about him. From crossing routes to brain tumors, this Bahamian American has got it covered. He's as impressive as a man you'll ever meet. And I was really humbled by this opportunity. Before we get into it, I want to leave you with a couple quotes. Myron was once told by Jesse Jackson, if Dr. King were alive today, he'd be proud of you. And then there was the day in Washington, D.C., back when President Obama was inaugurated. Cornel West spotted Myron on the street and flagged him down, and he bowed to Myron. And he told him, you are the future of Black America. This is my conversation with Dr. Myron Rolle.
I don't wanna write this down. I don't wanna tell you how I feel right now. I don't wanna take no time to write this down. I don't wanna tell you how I feel right now. Hey, tomorrow may never come. For you or me, life is not a promise. Tomorrow may never show up. For you and me, this life is not a promise. I ain't no perfect man. I'm trying to do the best that I can with what it is I have. I ain't no perfect man. I'm trying to do.
You been to some Celtics games?
I have, yes. Yeah.
That's one of the things you get to do in Boston. The sports a little bit. You've been to the Patriots, I saw.
Yeah, I
on
went to
Instagram.
a Patriots game. That was great. Went to the Celtics game. Went to a Red Sox game or two, I think. And no Bruins yet, but yeah.
I just saw they're playing right now when I was walking up here.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When the Bruins are in town, those fans are nuts.
That's true. Yeah. What I like about living around here is that, like, you can see the different types of fans, the different demographics of fans going into, like when there's a Taylor Swift concert, there's all these young little girls. Yep. When there's a WWE thing going on, these big, like, guys with, like, belts on and stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I like it, though.
We always knew. I used to work downtown when I lived in Boston, and I'd take the train every day from here. Mm-hmm. And we would be walking from work, and we'd be like, based on the girls that we saw, we'd be like, Celtics game, Bruins game, rap concert. Like, you can always tell what it is. Let's just say our least favorite was when the Bruins were in town.
Of course. Of course.
The girls in the Bruins jerseys,
Yeah,
we were
no,
like, oh, man.
I'll pass. Yeah.
So tell me how you met EJ.
So EJ Manuel, I met him when he was in high school, and I was a football player at Florida State University. We were recruiting him, top-rated player out of Virginia Beach, and we're looking for a new quarterback to come in and kind of turn our program around. And I gravitated towards EJ because he's got a great family. He's his parents been married forever. He's got a great support system. He's smart, erudite, polished, well-spoken, sophisticated guy, but can have fun. Obviously can ball, and so he looked up to me as almost like a big brother, and he even wanted to wear my number 3, while I was playing defense. And so,
He told me he calls you 3. You call each other 3?
Yeah, we do. We call each other 3. That's my man. And the cool thing about it, when he went home back to high school after his official visits to Florida State, I gave him some of my gear, my Florida State gear with 3 on it. So he was basically rocking it in Virginia, and just part of the program even before he got on campus officially. So he's my man. I don't have a little brother. I'm the baby of 5, so he's the closest thing to it. I love him, and he's one of the best people I know in this world for sure.
That gives us something in common, because he's like a little brother to me.
Yeah.
And he comes to me for advice because I'm old. I think that's why. No other reason. You could probably give him much more sage advice than me. All right, so let's talk about Boston a little bit. You've been here for, 2 years?
2 years.
Okay.
Yep.
Harvard for a year.
Yeah.
One of my best friends went to Harvard Med School.
Okay.
Kid I grew up with. He was at Mass General for a while.
Yeah.
So when he was at Harvard Med School, he brought me and like a couple of our boys that we grew up with to stay with him on campus or whatever. And one of the guys with us is a high school dropout. Then there's me, who I was like between colleges, like thrown out of school, trying to get my life together. And then another dude who's just, probably living paycheck to paycheck like the other guy. And we're visiting our boy at Harvard, and we're just like, wow, we grew up 30 minutes from Harvard or whatever, and we're just like, this is crazy that he's here. It was surreal. It was like one of the weirdest experiences ever. But that's my experiences at Harvard. Tell me a little bit about yours. I think they're probably a little different.
A little different, yeah, a little different. Well, I'm at Mass General, part of the Harvard program, and doing neurosurgery. As you know, it's been something that I've wanted to do for a long time. I did not know I was going to end up at Harvard. I always thought that my training for neurosurgery would be in the South because my parents are in the South. I'm from the Bahamas. I played ball in the South. I had more social capital and cachet down there. But when I took my interview up here, I fell in love with the program, the people here, the amount of resources and network you have at Harvard, the name brand of Harvard.
The gravitas.
No question.
When you say you went there or go there.
No question. It's unmatchable. And also I wanted to really get into the field of research while I was being a good clinician, right? So healing people in the operating room, but then also taking the work from there and expanding it out to underserved, impoverished parts of the country and even the world, and maybe even going back home to the Bahamas and providing healthcare there. And I feel like training myself up and getting good experience here will allow me to kind of take the skills that I get here at Harvard to other parts of the country and world and provide good service. So that was kind of the master plan behind it all, and I'm glad I did because I'm enjoying it.
So you haven't got to enjoy too much of the city itself, though. A little bit of the sports.
Yeah.
You consider yourself a local sports fan?
I'm getting there. Most of my nurses are trying to push the Patriots on me, but when the Titans, which is my former team, when they beat the Patriots recently, I had to let them know.
You did enjoy that.
I did enjoy that thoroughly. Super Mario doing his thing, and and so I enjoyed it. And they always try to remind me of last year when the Patriots won, but I tell them that Janet Jackson had a song, "What Have You Done for Me Lately?" And so you always got to go on what happened most recently.
My first crush, Janet Jackson.
Oh yeah, she's bad. She's a good one.
Penny from Good Times. And that was a little before you.
That's a little bit before me.
What about Different Strokes, Charlene?
Also a little bit before me.
Yeah, that was my girl.
My era is like Fresh Prince, like Nia Long, Tyra Banks,
So
Hillary.
First crush, Nia Long? Or?
Probably Hillary Banks, honestly.
Yeah?
Yeah, Hillary in that show, she was tight. She was tight.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
You familiar with the stigma attached to Boston and racism? You're a black man in Boston. You're a black surgeon in Boston, which puts you in an even, smaller minority. How do you feel as a black man in Boston? Do you see it? Do you experience it?
Yeah.
What's your experience been?
Yes, I do see it, and I experience it too. At my hospital, we are, I like to call it a boutique hospital because we're like number one in the country, and we have people flying from all over the world, so we don't really see the local population too much, but with how prestigious it is, it's hard to get in, and so most of the demographics of people we see are elite, have a lot of capital, and aren't coming from Roxbury or Dorchester or some of the local black neighborhoods. And so the patient population doesn't look like me. Nurses also don't look like me, and physicians certainly don't either, which puts me in a little bit of a different category. But it's one that I've been involved with my whole life. I went to a boarding school in New Jersey where I was one of maybe a few black people in the school, and I was aware of it then. My parents did a good job of making sure that I always just stayed focused on my goal and try to be a trendsetter for others who see me as a light and say, I can follow Myron to this place because he's a black person kind of opening doors. And so I've always put that on my shoulders, like, yeah, well, if they're not here, we're going to break through and make it common that a black neurosurgeon can walk through these halls and be successful and do the things that others do, because now it was done. And so that's been something. Out in the community, I remember I was taking an Uber ride one time, and one of the drivers, I told her I was a neurosurgeon. She said, "You don't look like a neurosurgeon." and I first I was like, well, she's probably thinking because I'm a little bigger, I have a little muscle to me. Sure. But then it wasn't that, and she was like, "Yeah, but neurosurgeons I'm just used to are just a little." I'm like, "Yeah." She wants to say white, right? That's white and old, and I said, "You know what? It's okay. I know."
I bet age played about like 10% of it, and race played like 90.
No question about it. But those kind of comments, I sort of just brushed off and said, well, I am one, and I will be a great one, God spare life, once I finish all my training, and I just continue to work hard with the great attendings we have here. So it's okay. It's all right. We're making it through.
And that leads me to the next question: is how did the patients respond when they say Dr. Rolle will be here to see you, and then you show up?
Yeah. So it's interesting. I've only had about 4 or 5 patients who would mistake me for the food service guy or the custodian. I'm like, no, I'm actually the one who's going to come in and help take out your brain tumor. But they're like, oh, no, my food's done. I said, no, sir. Seriously, I am Dr. Rolle. Says MD here. This is what I'm going to do. And then they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then there's another group that recognized my face and said, oh, you played football. And so that kind of opens up another dialogue, which is great, which I think does break down the barrier between black and white, or healer and patient. So
sports has always been good at that.
No question. Sports kind of breaks it down, and I appreciate that. I use it a lot. I used to shy away from being the jock.
Because you don't want to be known for that. You want to be known for this.
Exactly. But now I'm like, yes, if you like sports, we'll talk about it all day.
Right.
And so it's a good thing.
You mentioned prep school. Mm-hmm. You went to the Hun, Petty.
Yep.
I remember when I started out school in upstate New York, and we had a bunch of guys from Petty and guys from Hun. I just remember that and just being like, what are those schools? Like, these sound like these like rich, prestigious, and I looked them up since, I heard you went there. Yeah. Was it the Hun is even more exclusive as far as being all white?
Yes.
I think Petty had like a little more diversity.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Petty made a significant initiative to attract and recruit minorities to the school. They gave out a lot of money to Trenton and Camden and other low-income Philadelphia areas, so they'll get these people in. And I think that helped, honestly. It helped the mixing pot of the white students who were privileged and sort of in a bubble for their whole life to be exposed to this hard Trenton girl who comes in who can ball but also smart, and you're like, wow, look at this. Hun, again, like you said, a little bit more exclusive, didn't get that same sort of initiative. Also a great school, but I think what kept me sane through it all was that my parents were just super diligent about reminding me that there's an end goal here. You go through these times right now, and you know that there's going to be a time where you can come back and promote change in something that you see now. Right now may not be the time, but if you continue to work hard, you gain everything you can from the school experience, whether it be in the classroom, outside the classroom, on the field, through the relationships you make. you come back and you change it one day. And I also had the injection of black whenever I go back home to the Bahamas. You know, Bahamas is 92% black. And so I go down, the prime minister's black, barber, the lawyers, the doctors, everyone there looks like me. And we're all family because it's a small country, so everyone knows everyone. And so that was my way of kind of staying grounded in who I was, my purpose, my identity. And then I come back up to Hunt and say, okay, all right, this is a little different, but it's okay.
I think it works both ways where you actually get a lot out of it too. One of my good friends, been on the podcast as a guest. He's a director. He's from the west side of Chicago. He went to Lawrenceville, which I think is in your league, right?
Yes.
So he played ball at Lawrenceville, football, basketball, and he always talks about the experiences he had there. He had never been exposed to really white people until he went there, and you know he's still friends with some of them to this day. And he just talks about like he went skiing. Like he's just like, can you imagine this kid from K-Town on the west side of Chicago going skiing?
Right.
Like I've been skiing like for an hour of my life. Like I don't even know about skiing.
Yeah.
So like to hear him talk about it is hilarious to me.
Yeah, definitely. That was definitely there. I mean, you know, you got classmates who would ride up in Maybachs and, you know, going to the Met and you go into the Knicks game, you know, sit in front row. And I'm like, got my feet on the wood. And I would never get this through my own, you know, resources. And you just got these, you know, classmates who their parents are the head jewelers at Harry Winston or, you know, Merrill Lynch and, you know, all these different law firms. You're like, man, this is a different world. But it was good. And I have stayed in touch with some of those guys, and they're great people. Honestly, they're doing very well, clearly, and we had a good time.
You went to St. Augustine as well?
I did, yeah.
That one I never heard of.
Yeah, that's a little small Catholic school in South Jersey near Atlantic City where we grew up.
I did have a question about, I think it was at St. Augustine. You played ball there, basketball, with Pops.
Yeah.
I know about Pops. I remember him. He can play, man.
Yeah, he can ball. Nana Mensa Banzu.
So who is Big Ben?
Benedict Nwachukwu.
Because I see in your Wikipedia, it just says he played with Big Ben, and I'm like, Roethlisberger. I'm thinking, who's the other? There's another Big Ben. Oh, Ben Wallace. I'm like, who the hell's Big Ben?
Yeah, Benedict Nwachukwu. Yeah,
okay.
He was also another African-born. I don't know if he's Nigerian
British.
or Ghanaian, but he's from England. His family grew up in England, and he came over to the prep St. Augustine and did well there. Him and Pops, they had like a pipeline of guys who come from England. But those are great guys, man. I remember one experience with Pops. He was hurt, and I was playing, and we played against our rival school called Holy Spirit High School. And I came down on a fast break. My boy Anthony Farmer, we call him Woogie. Woog passed me the ball, and I came down, dunked it as a freshman. Crowd went crazy. Pops jumped off of the bench, tackled me. I'm like,
what?
Yo. And our head coach was like, hey, Pops, you're hurt. You got to chill. He's like, no, that's my boy. I'm like, yo.
One of those, stop the game
Stop
dunks.
the game. It was done. It was over. And they were like, he's a freshman. It was great. It was one of the best moments for sure.
That's awesome.
That's my boy.
What was your
Pops
basketball game like?
My game was almost like a typical football player, very athletic,
Yeah.
Can rebound.
Not real refined.
I hit an open J here and there, but I'll box you out. And I was smaller, 6'2".
You'll cover the 6'7" guys and stuff.
Exactly, because I can muscle them out the way. You know? Yeah. And I wasn't flopping. I'll be honest, I was not flopping. I'm not a flopper.
I don't even think we had flopping back then. When I played, we didn't flop. It didn't come until the Euro guys came over.
Right.
And the South America, like Manu and those guys,
Right.
flopping wasn't a thing.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so I have a couple personal questions
Sure.
that relate to me and a couple of my idiosyncrasies with the brain. Are you familiar with congenital mirror movement disorder?
Mirror movement. I'm not, no.
I have this thing where if I move my right hand, my left hand moves.
Okay.
I can't control it. If I make a fist, this hand clenches. I can't separate my right from my left. It's been going on. It was really bad when I was a kid. So it's kind of subsided a bit, but I've looked it up, I've read about it, and it just seems like this benign condition that doesn't really matter, but it's annoying.
It's not something that we would certainly operate on. Yeah. So the things that we operate on, I know really well. Have they ever done a scan of your brain? That's the question.
I've never had a brain scan.
Never had a brain scan.
I had heart surgery at Mass General.
Oh.
Which you might find a little interesting, even though you're not a heart surgeon.
Yeah.
I had cardiac ablation done about 14 years ago. I was on a plane, and I started going into cardiac arrest on a plane. Turned out I had basically a congenital condition, and nobody ever knew anything about it. And It's crazy.
Yeah, well, it's a blessing that you're here, and it's really great. And
but they did a great job.
Yeah,
at Mass General. Yeah.
Thanks to the hospitalists at MGH and physicians there. But there's a connection between your left and your right brain through these white matter striations called your corpus callosum. And so I'm interested, if it's benign and not affecting your daily life, then probably leave it alone. But if you were to get a scan, I'm interested to see what your corpus callosum would look like, because that connects your left and right. When we want to separate left and right from people, we would make purposeful disconnections between the left and right brain, so that you're not really aware of what's happening on the other side, or maybe one side has a lot of you're having seizures and you want to. It's called a functional hemispherectomy, where basically you're just disconnecting one hemisphere of the brain from the other, and you do it surgically, and hopefully it would stop the refractory seizures, and kind of just quiet your body down, and your body won't really know the other sides of the other. So I don't know, if you had a scan, it would be interesting to see it, but since it's not affecting anything, I wouldn't push it. I wouldn't get the exposure.
Like my girlfriend will look at me when I'm like reaching in my pocket to like grab my keys out, and this hand's like doing something, like this hand's doing this, and she's like, what are you doing with your hand? I don't get embarrassed, so
good
it's all good. My other question is about spinal bifida occulta. You familiar with that?
Very much
you studied the spinal cord.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I was born with spinal bifida occulta, which is a pretty benign condition as well.
Sure.
I noticed that there is back pain involved with it, and I believe it's the malformation of vertebrae in the spine.
That's correct.
So I probably don't have, they said if you have multiple, then it can be like a more difficult condition to deal with, but if you just have one, then it's kind of like you barely notice it.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. And it happens at birth, as you're aware. It's just during the neurodevelopment process, it's not your core doesn't fully come together. There's maybe some agenesis of some vertebrae, so it's not fully growing. But occulta just means that it's, like I said, it's benign. It's not something that's causing you leg weakness or leg pain or any kind of bowel or bladder issues, which everything would happen if you had symptoms. Actually, it'd be down low.
Honestly, I was late with like bedwetting as a kid.
Oh, is that right?
And the doctor's explanation was it probably had something to do with that.
Yeah, it could. I mean, yeah, and that's one of the symptoms that you do see. But the fact that you were able to get over that didn't require any surgery, which is a good thing.
Right.
Your spinal cord is supposed to grow all the way down. It stops around L1, the lumbar vertebrae 1, and then it has this conus, and then it has these kind of spaghetti-like strings that come down from it called the cauda equina, and those are all the nerve rootlets that come, and then they all innervate everything down below. And then a part of innervation is your perineum, is your bowel and bladder function, is your leg function. So people who have true spina bifida, like myelomeningocele or things of that nature, kids who don't, parents who didn't get a lot of prenatal vitamins and folate during child labor.
It has a lot to do with folic acid, right?
Absolutely. They have these like sacs that are in their back, and some of them grow up with leg weakness and can't walk, or consistently have to straight cath because they can't empty their bladder correctly, and that's a surgery that needs to happen within 48 to 72 hours. And Boston Children's Hospital does it all the time. I was able to be involved in at least one of them.
Really?
But it's really cool, and I want to go into peds, so I'm very interested in this anyway. So, but yeah, I'm glad you're doing well. Good.
I didn't need to have surgery, but I had a buzzer that went in my my underwear, and if it got wet, it would go make a big noise, and everybody would wake up. And the whole house would be like, get him to the toilet.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good.
So
good.
Like I said, I don't get embarrassed easy, so it's all good. You mentioned the Bahamas. Your family's from the Bahamas. You were born in, I think it said Houston, but you grew up in Jersey. Where in the Bahamas is your family from?
So we're from Exuma.
Wow, yeah. I want to go there.
It's amazing.
That place looks ridiculous.
It is fantastic. Astronauts say, I don't know if this is true or not, but we heard that an astronaut said that he saw the waters of Exuma from space. That's how beautiful it is. It's a great place. We obviously have the pigs that everyone knows about. Iguana Island. It's wonderful. One of my nurses just went there for her honeymoon, and she enjoyed it thoroughly. But yeah, so my mother was 7 months pregnant with me in the Bahamas. but wanted me to be a U.S. citizen. So she flew to Houston, where she had some friends. I was born there, went back to the Bahamas for about 3 years, and then we moved to Jersey, and that's where I grew up.
Okay.
But I go back to the Bahamas every summer, and my grandparents would live there, and everyone else still lived there. We were the only family in the U.S. And so our parents, again, were very diligent and deliberate about making sure that we understood our history, understood who we were, understood the holidays and the important figures from the Bahamas, understood the culture. And so even though we were growing up in Jersey and America around Italian, Pakistani, Jewish people, we still were Bahamian in our house, eating peas and rice, conch, fried fish, peas and rice, snapper, drinking gumbe.
You called it snapper, too.
All of it, man. It was great.
Conch.
Yeah, for sure. So It was good.
Where in Jersey are you from?
So a town called Galloway, which is about 15 minutes from Atlantic City in South Jersey.
So South Jersey. Mm-hmm. Now, I was misinformed. I thought you were Seventh-day Adventist. I know your faith is very important to you. You're Baptist.
Correct.
Okay. Your Seventh-day Adventist connection is Ben Carson.
That's correct.
Okay. So Ben Carson, I would think that he has you a bit conflicted because his run for presidency, he's a black Republican. He's one of your heroes, as far as I know.
That's correct.
And I assume you're not a Republican.
That's correct as well.
I know you're friends, from what I read, with Bill Clinton.
That's correct also.
Who's definitely not a Republican.
Not at all.
So explain that stuff a little bit to me. Is it put you in a tough spot, or is it politics don't really matter?
Yeah, so Ben Carson was my hero growing up because my oldest brother, Marchant, gave me his book, Gifted Hands, to read. He wanted me to have a role model that looked like me, but that wasn't throwing a ball or shooting a ball or anything like that. He wanted somebody who was in the academic sphere, who was using their intellect to kind of change the world. And he saw this guy, Dr. Carson, as that for me. When I read his book, I said, wow, there are a lot of parallels in his story to mine. Black man, not a lot of money, family that focused on education, had a bit of a temper, but loved succeeding in the classroom. I saw all of that in me. When I was younger, I had a bit of a temper. I got in fights. I had to go to court because I beat up a kid because he called me the N-word. I was like, this is me right now. And so once you connect to a story and a story becomes real to you and tangible, that person becomes that larger than life figure. His picture was on my wall in my house growing up. And it was big for me. And so I had a chance to meet him at his church. He's a Seventh-day Adventist, as you mentioned.
Was it Damascus or something?
I
down
think
in
so.
Baltimore?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we went to that church, and I sat in Saturday school with him and with his wife, met them, and just, had a great conversation and asked them, a lot of advice. And, he was giving me some very humbling advice about being nice to janitors and lunch ladies, never overlooking them, saying hi to everyone.
I love it.
Yeah, I
love that stuff.
It was great. We became close. We golfed together. We all prayed together often. We ate together after that. We developed a great relationship. And in fact, he wrote a letter for a recommendation for my neurosurgery interviews when I was applying to Harvard and Yale and Hopkins and other places. So we became very close. Now, his political leanings, I honestly wish he had not run. Not because I didn't think he was a qualified candidate to be president, because that standard has kind of gone down from what we have now, but because you never want to see like your hero get beat up. Politics are dirty, and no matter if you're good or bad, they're gonna say something about you. I love Barack Obama, still do. I love Michelle Obama. If Michelle Obama were to ever run, they would try to find something to throw at her.
Of course.
And it would make me upset because I'm such a huge fan of her.
Right.
And so I felt the same way with Ben Carson. Even though our political views aren't the same, I still respect him as a physician, as a man, as a leader, and as a Christian. And I didn't want to see that kind of beat up that he was receiving at the time. I know he's in HUD right now, Housing and Urban Development. And I talked to his wife, and sounds like they're doing very well. But he's somebody who made neurosurgery real for me as a young black man. And I look at his story as something that one day, when I get to a point, I don't know when that would be, God spare life, that I can be that example for someone reading my story and say, you know what, I can do that. And not only neurosurgery, but I also could be a jock too and ball a little bit. And because he opened it for me, I feel like I have a responsibility now to try to open it for someone else. I'm not there yet, and maybe some people are inspired by me now, but there'll come a time where someone reads the story and says, yeah, I think I can do it because Myron Rolle did it.
So I remember he mentioned something about he was at a crossroads where he was getting into trouble, and he tried to stab somebody, and it hit the belt or something.
That's
and
correct.
saved the guy's life.
Mm-hmm.
And he could have gone in two directions. There was a fork in the road, and at whatever point he chose to go the right way. Do you feel like you had a fork in the road? And I don't mean necessarily in the same way where you could have ended up, in gangs and streets and all that type of stuff. But I mean, you could have easily just been a jock and played football and pursued what you were great at. Instead of, you kind of took the road that's harder, more difficult, because you're naturally an athlete. It's not easy to just be a surgeon. You know what I mean? I think it was much easier for you to play sports.
Yeah.
So what was the catalyst to make you kind of go in that direction?
Yeah, so, I think it was the sacrifices that I was aware of made by my family, names that I knew and names that I didn't know. We had a lot of people in the Bahamas who we left behind who would have loved to have the opportunity to access the resources and the opportunities in America that we did. And so because we had this great chance to be whatever it is we wanted to be, no ceiling on our growth, we felt, and I felt, that it was my duty to exhaust every talent that I had in my body, academically, athletically, spiritually, emotionally, philanthropically, whatever it was that God gave me, and whatever it was that my parents helped nourish and create, my brothers too, that was going to be presented to the world in a way of service, right? That was going to be the drive. And so I always remember that, there were people who died and sacrificed for me to be where I am right now. And I know the names of my parents, but I don't know the names of others. But they would not want to see me be complacent with this chance. And I feel like there's a lot of people who go through our generation now and say, you know what, I'm entitled, I'm supposed to get this is what's supposed to happen to me. No, you don't deserve any of this. We don't deserve any of these blessings that come our way. You have to continue to work hard for them and continue to use every opportunity to the best of your ability so that it behooves not only you but the people around you, because there were other people that would have loved to have this chance. And I never, ever forget that. And I think that is the catalyst, as you mentioned, to keep me pushing forward. Even in the hardest days, you're like, look, Myron, you have no time to rest, no time to chill, because there's going to be a time for you to chill on the other end of this thing, but you're still not there yet. You have goals to reach, and you have people to try to inspire, and you have service to give, and you've been blessed with some opportunities and some abilities, and you've been fortunate to have a great family and to be in America to do these sorts of things where other people didn't, who may be more talented than you. But now you're here, you got to make the best of it. And so that's kind of what I always remind myself.
So I see the shirt you have on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oxford.
Yeah.
All right. So when did you know that you wanted to be a Rhodes Scholar? How did you even know to strive for that? Like I knew what it was. Like I knew about it growing up. Like you hear a Rhodes Scholar, like wow, that guy's a Rhodes Scholar. But it wasn't something that I felt was attainable.
Yeah.
When did you realize it was something you wanted to do?
So when I was at that Hundo school in Princeton, there was a guy, Bill Bradley, who went to Princeton.
Of course. I was actually going to make that parallel with you.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. As
he went there?
He did. He went to Princeton.
That's interesting.
Oh,
no, I'm saying he went to the Hundo school?
No, he did not go to Hundo school.
Oh, okay.
But his all of his trophies and displays were all in Princeton. So
okay.
I would just like walk over from my high school to the gym, Jadwin Gym at Princeton University, and I would see like this guy. I was like, man, this guy is like larger than life. He's amazing. He's the epitome of what a student athlete ought to be, right?
Yeah.
And so then I read that he was a Rhodes Scholar, and I said, what is that? And that's
Okay.
when I looked it up, and that's what put it in my head. So I think it was about junior year of high school when I first started thinking about what a Rhodes Scholar was. And because Bill Bradley was it, I said, I want to be it as well. And that's how it came about.
That's cool. So talk about your experience in England.
Yeah, it was
going
good.
to Oxford.
It was really, really good. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I did medical anthropology, a master's degree. Only did it for a year because I wanted to come back to the States and play in professional football. But I studied med anthro, which is a look at the social and cultural aspects of medicine. It takes people's post-colonial stigmatizations, gender roles, all the other aspects of the human experience and how that intersects with medicine.
I like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, and so it's like, we would study and go to places like Congo, Rwanda, Burkina Faso, Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, and figure out and kind of study why these local villagers were trusting the herbalists and the bone setter and the shamans and the local healers rather than the biomedical clinics that were set up by the colonials. And a lot of the answer was trust, right? We don't trust these, foreigners who have come in here and taken our land and raped our resources and try to do some quote unquote good by setting up these hospitals. We would rather go to the people who we have more cultural capital with. And it was phenomenal. And I think for me now as a neurosurgeon, which is very black and white, you have a tumor, we take it out. You have a ruptured disc, then we take that out. There's a lot of black and white in neurosurgery, but there's also people who have stories that can add to their healing process. I'm a firm believer that the healing process from time of surgery until time of discharge is a mutual thing where the patient has to buy in and be vulnerable to the process, and the surgeon and the healer has to listen and respond to the body and to the narrative of that patient and allow them to take part in that process. And when you do, I think those patients do much better. That means physical touch. It means what is it like to transfer good energy from one person to another? That just means going on the bed and say, hey, Mr. Jones, you're having surgery today, while you're rubbing the top of their hand, we're going to take care of you, and having family around, speaking love into them. If they like music, putting the music on in the room while they're there to allow them to recover. Getting at the whole body, the holistic experience, rather than just, we're going to put you to sleep, cut in your back, fix the disc, take out the osteophytes, the bony parts, close you back up, PT, OT, send you home. It's more than that.
That's so important, the human side of those things.
Yeah.
Having, bedside manner, really.
Absolutely.
Teaching you how to have bedside manner.
No question.
You mentioned Rwanda and the Congo.
Mm-hmm.
Is that when you made the trips with Clinton?
Yes.
And so that was when you were at Oxford.
That was part of the Oxford experience too, but then we also went again too. So it was great. Yeah, President Clinton had a group called the Clinton Global Initiative, which was a group of about 20 of us, ages 23, which is my age, to 40. So young leaders who we brought together, and we had gone over there to really talk about sexual violence. Women were being raped at staggering numbers because some of the men were looking at it as an act of valor, an act of power. If you can take this woman and do, especially if she was young and a virgin, you can do this, you're now a man, quote unquote, you can pound your chest, which is the most abhorrent thing you could think of, but it was a part of the culture, unfortunately, in that eastern part of Congo.
Female circumcision, that stuff.
Correct, all of that. And so we went and petitioned the government about harsher laws on these men who commit these crimes. We went and visited a Women for Women shelter that was in Congo. We talked to the doctor at the hospital, the gynecologist who was taking care of these women, and we helped the International Rescue Committee and the United Nations build a well closer to the village where women would have to go fetch the water. Before, they would go fetch the water and they had to go through bush, and the men would wait there and rape them, but we just built it closer and it didn't happen anymore.
Save some lives.
Which seemed like a very logical thing that someone else should have done before, but you come there and
well, it's the men who build the wells.
No question.
So
they know what they're doing. Right.
Exactly.
And so it was a wonderful experience. I was there with Jeff Gordon, the race car driver, Ashley Judd, just some amazing people. Obviously, President Clinton was phenomenal. I've been good friends with him since I won the Rhodes Scholarship. He wrote me a letter congratulating me and inviting me to his public library in Arkansas. I spoke there. He liked it, and he said, okay, you're the real deal. So he invited me to speak with him in Austin, Texas. Then he invited me to a think tank in Aspen with him, and then we went to Congo together, and then we went to New York together. And I just talked to him, maybe about a couple months ago. So
wow.
So it's been a phenomenal ride with someone of that kind of power and that kind of intellect.
It's amazing. Have you met the Obamas?
I've not. I've just shook President Obama's hand, but I haven't met him personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll happen.
I hope, man. I hope. Huge fan.
Backtracking a little bit, you chose your Rhodes Scholarship over the NFL, pretty much. You still had an NFL career, but you would have obviously gone higher in the draft. I mean, it's a decision that was, I remember at the time it was being talked about so much and people thinking you were crazy. And it's like, I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like, look how many people get drafted and look how many people get Rhodes Scholarships. Look how many people have that opportunity. Yeah. It's minuscule,
Sure.
So talk about that decision for you. I mean, for you, it was a no-brainer?
Yeah, it became a no-brainer. But at first, it was very difficult. When you play football your whole life and it's a part of everything you do, meaning what you eat, who you hang around with, what time you go to sleep, what you wear, everything you do is driven by your sport. And then when you're saying, you know what, I'm going to push that to the side for a little bit to pursue my education and to get this master's degree, this advanced degree at this great school, it was tough. It was difficult, especially when there's money dangling in front of your face, and especially when you go to Florida State University rather than Harvard, Dartmouth, Princeton, Brown, where you would have gone and been an incredible student, but you wouldn't have had the same probably opportunities.
You were at a football factory.
No question. the reason I chose FSU, right? DBU, you can put players into the league. Terrell Buckley, Deion Sanders, my cousin Myron Rolle, like just all of them went there and balled out. Leroy Butler,
Yep.
And so that was my thing. Antonio Cromartie, and so when the opportunity presented itself, I said, yeah, let me go and do Oxford. Again, that decision was made not just on me, right? I made the decision because I thought if other people saw this and said he's saying no to this great opportunity to go to the NFL and pursue his education, he's showing that knowledge is power, it's more lasting and enduring, and it's something that you can't pass up. And I've heard from young people who've written to me, from older individuals who have found this story inspiring and said they're proud of me for that decision. They've drawn from it and used it to help their young students who are going and facing similar situations. Do I go and pursue athletics, or do I go the academic route? And so it was great. It was great.
The road less traveled.
The road less traveled, no question. Pun intended all the way through.
So going back a little bit again, coming out of high school, you're the number one recruit in the country. You're an All-American in every publication. How do you end up at Florida State, from Jersey to Florida State?
Yeah, I really enjoyed my visit to Florida State. I felt it was the one school that holistically looked at me and said, we can make you better in all the different facets of your person. Every school, I think I could have went and balled out on the field. There's no doubt. I was looking at Oklahoma and Florida, Michigan, Georgia, Texas, Penn State, very top-level schools.
What about Miami?
I looked at the U, too.
You know you got family there. I know Antrell.
Sure. Yeah.
I went to the U. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. Yeah. Okay, all right. Yeah, so I was looking at the U as well. Trell did his thing. I think they had Kenny Phillips and Brandon Merriweather right there the same time I was coming through.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it was definitely in my top 5. I visited them quite often.
Okay.
And yeah.
I'm sure you got family down there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Besides
in the Grove. Yeah.
In the Grove.
For sure.
First Bahamian settlers.
No question.
Yeah.
We built Miami. You know what I'm saying? Bahamas built Miami. Let's go, baby. But now, let me get back.
And then the Colombians' drug money built the rest. But
That's true. So, so I thought Florida State could, help me do well in the field. They brought a guy named Garrett Johnson, who was a track star, who won a Rhodes Scholarship. They put him in front of me and said, hey, this is a guy you can be like. So they actually...
Like an older guy.
Guy. Oh, yeah. He was graduated, but he was around Tallahassee. And he became kind of my big brother on campus. Even though he was, graduated, he was still there.
Sure.
And my mother was like, oh, yeah, that's it. Because you always hang on to someone who... Black guy, All-American track athlete, Rhodes Scholar, was a aide for Governor Jeb Bush. And
he's a black guy, too?
Black guy, too. And did humanitarian work in Haiti.
Your parents loved him.
Oh, loved him. Garrett Johnson, people don't know this story, but Garrett Johnson was probably 85% of the reason why I chose Florida State, because of what he represented, and he was the real life tangible example of what I could be. And that's why you've heard me say it over and over in this podcast, like examples. If people see it and feel it and believe it and can be connected to it, then they will achieve it. Because I've done it myself. Ben Carson, Garrett Johnson, and if they see that through me, then boom, their goals are going to be realized too. So through that, Garrett, I was like, let's go. And so the pathway was set to go to Florida State, step in right away. I graduated from Hun early, got in for spring ball, and then the rest is history. Had a great time there.
And you felt like FSU was challenging enough academically?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I pushed myself, and I was always in the advanced classes.
I think it has to do with you can make things easy at a lot of schools.
Question.
I mean, there's some schools you can't.
Yeah.
But now, Myron is a neurosurgeon, and he went Rhodes Scholar, Oxford, Harvard, the whole deal. But I did a little research, and his GPA was 3.75 at FSU.
Sure.
I had a 3.8 at Miami. I'm just saying.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean,
And, hey, I'm no brain surgeon.
Yeah. Well,
Just had to put that out there.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it. That's okay. That's all right. I hope you still let me operate on you, though. I just hope you.
Oh, my God. I'm going to need it someday.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You had a chance to be a first-round pick.
Yeah.
You chose to be a Rhodes Scholar. Teams questioned your desire to play, so it affected your draft status.
Yeah.
Am I missing anything?
No, that's about it. I mean, that's right. I mean, even when I got to the league,
You never really got a fair shake.
Yeah, as a 6th-round pick, they were still wanting to. They being personnel coaches, still wanted to talk to me more about my relationship with President Clinton, or the brain and neurosurgery, or medical anthropology, what Oxford was like, versus Cover 2 and blitzes in the A-gap and things like that. So I knew from the start that it was going to be difficult. I would have to have 5 interceptions every game so that I was unmovable from the team for them to keep me, because they just saw me as someone who was not going to take it seriously, who was going to leave, not really committed to it. I remember one person though telling me that I was doing better than most of the people in our segment group, in our position group. However, there's another guy who needs this, and you're going to be president one day, and you're okay. You really don't need this, so we're not worried about you. So we're going to probably go with him because he's got no other option. And I felt like you're taking away this opportunity from me because I, tried to expand myself and expand my options, and you've been told every day of your life to do well in school, and now it kind of backfires on you. That was a point where I said, you know what, let me stop hurting my hands, no more concussions, let me read about the MCAT, take it, go to med school, and start this pathway for medicine.
You just answered a couple of my questions, and that's a great segue into your concussion research. You've done a lot with that, and I'm sure that's something you're going to do a lot more with. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, concussions are obviously a hot topic now. When you have the spectrum of brain injury, concussions are probably on the most benign side of things versus, diffuse cerebral edema and hypoxic injury and brain bleed, subdural, subarachnoid, whatever the case may be, intracranial hemorrhage. But concussions are real because they manifest themselves in so many different ways that we're just kind of getting a hold of now. We used to just look at it all in one category: concussions, got your bell rung, you see stars, and that's it. But people react differently or people have different primary symptoms of concussions, whether it be depression or cognitive issues or photophobia or whatever the case may be. And so I think more research is going into, and I know we're doing it at MGH, categorizing and having targeted therapy at the molecular and cellular level for brain injuries, especially concussions, based on primary symptoms. And I think if you know that, then that's very helpful. I think it's also helpful to remember about the return to play and allowing the physicians and the clinicians to make sure these players don't have repetitive concussions within a 6 to 12 day period, because as we all know, if you do have another one, the risk of getting another one, even from a less traumatic blow, goes up exponentially. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I think neurosurgery, we're not the sole proprietor of this information. I feel like it's a multidisciplinary approach. Physicists, neurologists, social psychologists, talking about the manhood aspects of not wanting to report that you have concussion symptoms, even if they're subacute or even if they're minimal. You still should say it, even when you're in a room full of testosterone and a bunch of men and you don't want to feel like you're weak because it's an injury that you can't see, like a broken arm or torn ACL. And so there's a lot of people going into this topic, a lot of thoughts going into this topic, and a lot of people being involved. And we're just on the cusp of it. I think it's going to come to a head soon, where you see some significant changes at the Pop Warner Junior levels, which I hope will permeate upwards. Because right now, I think the NFL is sort of just doing patchwork, Band-Aid work over some of the issues, and just trying to keep this monstrosity of an entity alive because it's making a lot of money for a lot of people, but not really trying to get at the root cause of what's happening and how do we help these players.
How can you have a doctor that works for the team that has the best interest of the player? No, they don't have the best interest of the player. They have the best interest of the organization.
No question.
That one, until that gets fixed, you can't do anything. I've had my fair share of concussions. I've dealt with depression. I want to know, is it going to be possible to see CTE in a brain in a living human anytime in our lifetime? Is that something that people are close to?
I think so. I think there is going to be, the radiologists right now working on doing some imaging modalities that will let us know real time, live, when people are alive, if there are some extra protein buildup in the brain from repetitive concussive episodes. But my thing with you is that I'm not completely sold that CTE is directly related to concussion. I think some people may be predisposed to having it, but I'm not sure if it's every single time. Almost as if you're a smoker for your whole life, you're going to have issues in your lungs, right? Sure. You're going to have black lungs. You're going to have decreased lung capacity. We know that there's a direct link to that. I'm not exactly sure there's a direct link to this. I think it puts you at higher risk for sure. And I think some people are just congenitally predisposed to it, because there have been people who have committed suicide, who played football their whole life, had their brain studied, haven't had any CTE, no tau protein buildup, nothing like that.
I don't really read any studies about that.
You don't hear about that,
Yeah.
right? Because the hot thing is, let's make this link between CTE and concussion. So there are some kind of disagreements on that, but nevertheless, we still have issues that we still need to solve, right? And whether it's CTE, which is kind of farther down the line, it's like you see this buildup, but what do you do about it? Versus how do we stop it from even getting to that point, or how do we stop these symptoms from happening so people don't have major effects of their daily life?
So let me try to understand what you're saying. Would you say it's like breaking it down, cholesterol? If you're genetically predisposed to have cholesterol problems and you eat bad, you're going to have high cholesterol.
That's correct.
If you eat good and you're genetically predisposed to have bad cholesterol, you still might have bad cholesterol.
No question.
CTE, same idea.
No question. Same idea.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Interesting. I'm fascinated by dreams and memories. I've read that memories from childhood are a lot of they're a combination of stories you've been told, pictures you've seen, dreams you've had, and they're not even real memories. I don't know how much research or studying you did about memories.
Haven't done much on memories, but I know the structures that are important for memories in the mesial temporal lobe, obviously a bunch of lobes in the brain, and you the middle part and kind of close to the center holds the amygdala and the hippocampus, which a lot of these memories are stored. And sights, sounds, scents. All these
Scents
things
are huge.
Yeah, no question, can trigger some of these, like I said, compilation of stories that kind of play back in your mind's eye, almost like a movie in a way. So
I just feel like a lot of people's memories aren't real memories.
Yeah.
They're not based on what actually happened. It's like your mom told you, remember when you were a little kid, blah, 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 and then you develop it in your brain for so long.
Right.
And then by the time you're 40, you tell these stories about, I remember when I was a kid, and you don't remember
Right.
that.
Absolutely.
And
even in traumatic events, that's why eyewitness testimony sometimes can be flawed, because some people think they see certain things and try to recount it, but in a way they're like, okay, I'm taking what I've seen in dramas and TV shows versus what I did see or what I thought I may have seen. And so the mind is funny. It's the greatest computer that no one can ever build that God did for us. It's a beautiful thing for sure.
And the last one is about dreams. Do you think dreams are really manifestations of our fears or desires or secrets? I don't know, I know you're more into fixing brains, but I don't know, in your studies, you went to school for 7 or 8 years for this stuff. Do you guys delve into dream research or anything like that?
We did not really dive into.
I know it
dream
doesn't
research.
save lives.
Yeah,
This is the stuff I'm interested in now.
No, yeah, you need a neurologist, man. You have a lot of great questions that fall into the very basic scientific neurology aspects of neuroscience. But no, we didn't dive too much into that, and we don't see a lot of our patients who have those complaints that end up having some sort of structural issue that we can do something about surgically, so to speak. So I'm sorry to leave you short on that. But talk to me about aneurysms, man, or talk to me about brain tumors. I got it.
See, I can only talk about this stuff in detail about the stuff I've dealt with.
Yeah, I see.
And that's dreams and memories. No brain issues.
No brain issues. Well, that's a good thing, actually.
I know. I've had my heart issues. I don't need brain issues.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so we've reached the Keeping It a Hundo section.
And I'ma keep it 100.
The only thing you got to do is you got to keep it a hundo.
Keep it hundo.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Who you got one-on-one? Jesus Christ versus Jesus Shuttlesworth.
Jesus Christ.
Wow, most people take Shuttlesworth. You'd be
Christ,
surprised.
all day, JC, baby.
Steel cage match. Ben Carson versus Bobby Bowden.
Whew. I'm going Ben.
Couple tigers.
I'm going Ben. Ben from Detroit. Ben can ride. I'm going Ben.
In basketball, you got Dr. J. In football, there's Myron Rolle. Do you know any other pro athletes that have become doctors? I'm not sure what Dr. J is a doctor of, but let's just make that clear.
Of dunking, probably.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't think I know any other pro athletes that became physicians.
While we're at it, do you know any other black surgeons or neurosurgeons?
I do. Yes, there's a guy named Keith Black, Dr. Keith Black. He's the head of neurosurgery at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles.
Wow.
Great physician and a contemporary of Dr. Carson.
Okay.
Went to Michigan.
Top 5 rappers.
Okay.
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive. Top 5. So I have to go in order?
No.
Just top
Any
5.
order.
Okay. 3,000.
Yes.
He's in there.
That's Andre 3 Stacks for anybody who's
Oh yeah.
confused.
Sorry. Yeah, for sure. So 3,000. Let's go. We gotta go. Tupac. Let's get Pac in there. Gotta go big, because he got a story to tell, and I got a story to tell as well.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Quoting them.
After that, I like the conscious rappers, man. So this is gonna be one that people are like, really? He's up there? But my top 5 is gonna be Mos Def. I got Mos Def on there because
He's made a couple lists.
Yeah, I appreciate Mos Def. And then the 5th one, you know what? Because he's had so many hits, and he is and he was during my college years, like
I think I know it.
one after the other. Who do you think I'm gonna say?
Drizzy.
No, I'm not
okay.
going Drizzy. I'm going Tip, man.
Okay.
I'm going TIP.
Yeah, you're a
man.
little older than the Drizzy years.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm a little older than Drizzy years. I Tip, man. Tip used to come and hit after hit, man, and
Okay.
I think he was strong. I like Tip. I'm
I
going
don't
Tip.
have a problem with your list.
Yeah.
I have no problem with it. Best pizza in Boston? Have you even got a chance to try any of them?
Regina's, is that one?
It's a really good one.
That's a really good one?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like a top 3.
That's the only one I've had,
Okay.
and everyone tells me it's great,
Hey,
and it's
you've
good.
been to the one down at Thatcher, like North End? The
Yeah,
little
yeah,
alley?
exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Good
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah.
Was going there since I was a kid. As a doctor, how do you feel about hand sanitizing? I'm a germaphobe.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. In and out the room, while I'm in the room. Yeah, no question.
How do you feel about like outside of hospitals though? People who use it. Like if I'm gonna have lunch somewhere and I don't have a bathroom to go wash my hands at, if I wash my hands with hand sanitizer and then eat a sandwich,
I think it's fine.
is it helping? Is it hurting?
No, I think it's okay. I think if you have actual dirt on your hands, and
Right.
you can actually see it,
That
then
doesn't-
you should soap and water.
Right.
You should use for sure. But if not, if you're just cleaning your hands, and hand sanitizer is okay. I use it when I'm in the airport all the time too.
So
If
do
I
I.
see it in the airport, I just go pull it and then go for
I'm
it.
scared to death in airplanes and airports. Like
Yeah.
I know I'm getting sick. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever met anybody that's had you starstruck?
Whoa.
I know you've met like some crazy people, so
Yeah.
you get used to it. But
I think when I first met President Clinton, I was a bit starstruck, and I think I started talking to him about the weather, and he was like, "Really? You got me one-on-one right now? You want to talk to me about the
He
weather?"
said that?
No. In his
Oh,
face.
okay,
In his
okay.
face, he had it, and I was so disappointed. Like that's the first.
I know
thing
what you
said.
wanted to talk to him about.
What was that?
Ladies.
I
know.
No, I keep that away.
Hey, he's a world-class stick man.
Hey, look, man. But I tell you what, he is so personable and charismatic that everybody who was around, they just felt like they knew him, and he felt like he knew them.
You really felt like that? Because I hear that all the time
No question.
in interviews from
no
people.
question. And I've heard
He
the
has
same
this
thing.
presence about him.
Yeah.
He's tall, right? He's like a little taller than you.
He is, and he looks you right in the face, and he gets close to you, and I think that proximity gives people the feel comfort, like, okay, yeah, this guy is
He
like
pulls you in a little bit.
Yeah, pulls you in a little bit, grabs your hand, and talks to you, and he will know something about you too. You know?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
think
He did his
don't-
research.
He did his research.
Yeah.
And so you're like, wow, he knows one fact, and you're like, wow, this guy knows me.
Like that game you had against Miami,
Oh, that game
where
against them.
Mickey Andrews said it was the best game he's ever seen.
That was big. That was
Yeah.
big, man. That was the
Can't
best game I ever
believe you did
played.
us like that.
Yeah, man. I say it's all about the U, but that game, it was all about FSU.
I read this BET.com article, Girlfriend's Man Crush Monday. It was about you.
Yeah.
All right. How many women have proposed to you?
Proposed to me.
Yeah, because I mean, you're like the most eligible bachelor on the planet. Well, at least for a little while.
Yeah. There have been, I think I've gotten maybe 4 proposals.
From people you knew, like girls you dated, or
These are people I don't know.
Okay.
But I've gotten 2 requests to be fathers of people's children. Not through the normal coitus, but like just, hey,
like real
can you
requests.
donate?
Though.
Yes, real requests. Like literally, can you donate to this bank? And I would like to have your genes as my child. I thought it was creepy, but then I was like, I'm a little flattered.
Yeah. How
because
can you not be?
they think I have good characters, But yeah, anyway, that was I turned that down quickly.
So, sticking with that same theme, have you ever been asked to be the bachelor on the TV show?
Never asked to be the bachelor. No, I don't. Have they ever had a black bachelor?
Of course not. The ratings would go through the roof. That would be unbelievable. They had a black bachelorette last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How'd that go? How was that?
Everyone loved it. I
Oh,
think it
see.
did really well. I started watching it a couple years ago. My mom's big into it,
Oh, is that
so
right?
like she got me onto it. So
Yeah.
now that's like one of the things we talk about a lot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But I think it's below you.
Oh, well.
That's my opinion. He
Okay.
didn't say that. I said that. I watch it for the comedy.
Yeah.
It is straight comedy. Have you ever met anybody who's been on a stamp?
I have not. No, because typically people are dead. It's posthumous. You get the stamp. So no, I have not.
I have. It's my first time, I believe.
Sir. Yes, sir.
This man is on a stamp in the Bahamas. I don't know if it's like it happened and it's done or it's like currently on there.
No, it's currently there, yeah.
That is unbelievable.
Get it. Oh, thanks.
Wow. How many cities have given you a key to the city?
Let's see. Sarasota, Florida, Lafayette, Louisiana, and I think that's it. And I got a day in Palm Beach and then a day in Galloway Township, New Jersey, where I grew up.
That stuff is insane.
Yeah.
You kind of alluded to something earlier, but as an adult, maybe this might be a better question. Have you ever been in trouble? Disciplinary trouble?
No, not as an adult. No, just when I was younger. And
Never been arrested?
Never been arrested. That was the last time that I had gotten in trouble when I was a child. Yeah.
Who did you look up to growing up? I know off the field it was Ben Carson, your family. I know your parents had a huge influence on you. Were there any athletes you looked up to?
Yeah, Prime. Definitely Prime was huge for me. And then Samari, too. You know, being my older cousin and seeing him ball, you know, it was great to watch him play. And just had the pride of having his last name and we share in our Bahamian blood. But Prime, for sure, because he was flashy, but then he also got it done. And he was well-spoken, and he was a Christian. It was like, yeah, it was great. I liked it.
What's your interactions been like with Dion? I'm sure you've met him a few times.
Yeah, for sure. And he, you know, he says he's proud of me and he looks up to me. And I'm like, you look up to me? I said, nah, man, you are the standard. And so, yeah, it's been great. I remember when I saw him at the airport. I think I was going through Dallas. And this was when I was going through the NFL time of not getting these bad reports that I was not going to be serious about football and all these things we had mentioned earlier in this talk. And he stopped me and said, Myron, you know, I don't know if it's going to be football, because it could be football. But whenever people are cornered backed into a corner, you don't know how they're going to respond. And so right now they're backing you into a corner. And whether it's football that fights you out of this thing or something else that changes the world, you're going to do it and you're going to do it very well. And I was like, And I remember that. And right now it's not football, but hopefully I'm changing the world or changing someone's life, hopefully, in the operating room and as a neurosurgeon. So I remember that. And I was literally, and he probably doesn't even remember saying that to me, but he said that to me, you know, in the airport. And it was great to hear that from somebody he looked up to.
That's dope.
Truth, as he would say. Truth.
Okay.
Prime. The man.
You're from New Jersey. Favorite person on the Jersey Shore? I know you've seen it.
I have. Probably the Situation, because, you know, he's just so extra. So, yeah, I'll go with him.
I don't know if you've seen they have like a new season out.
I have not seen it, no.
His new thing is he's addicted to food because he's like, he went into rehab. He doesn't do drugs, doesn't drink.
Okay.
He's like, he's a food addict. He eats like 6 entrees when they go to dinner.
Really?
Yeah, he doesn't take his shirt off. No, there's a situation here. He's not like this. He's just like this. Okay. And he doesn't have the situation anymore.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It's hilarious. That shit kills me.
For real.
But that's how that's like the people I grew up with, right? This direction we're looking at right here.
Right.
You go north a little bit.
Yeah.
Jersey Shore.
That's it.
That's what we got. That's where I grew up.
That's crazy, man.
Yep.
We had Jersey Shore, Jerseylicious, Mob Wives, Real Housewives of New Jersey, and Sopranos. At one point, New Jersey had all these reality shows. I'm like, people just like making fun of Jersey or something, or putting us on TV, because it's a lot, man.
Yep.
And we had Boardwalk Empire, which is based out of Atlantic City.
I love Boardwalk, and I loved Sopranos.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Me too.
Do you have time to watch TV? That was actually my next question. Do you have any TV shows that you like record or stream or whatever that you watch regularly?
Game of Thrones.
Yep. Coming back soon.
Yes, I'm excited about that. And then my political show that I watch for my news is Rachel Maddow, MSNBC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's a Rhodes Scholar too.
Really?
She's great, so I watch her all the time.
Have you been on there?
I've not been on her show, no.
Man, somebody got to send her a letter.
I know. I never met her before. I would love to too. Yeah. Maddie Hundo, get it done.
I'm on it. I'm on it. What do these people have in common? Lil Duval, Lenny Kravitz, Al Roker.
Yep.
You there yet?
Oh, no question.
Kimbo Slice.
242, baby.
Eric Gordon.
242.
I'm assuming the 242 is the Bahamian
area code.
No question.
No question.
Tia and Tamer.
All day.
Klay Thompson and his dad Michael.
Keep going. Buddy
Sidney
Hield,
Poitier.
Sidney Poitier, Rick Fox.
W.E.B. Du Bois. Oh, yeah, Rick Fox.
Fox, come on.
Rick Fox's little brother, nobody knows about him. He played in my league in high school.
Really?
Because Rick was playing for the Celtics, and he brought his little brother to live in Boston.
Yeah.
And he played in our league. His name was Aaron Fox. He had like a messed up leg from like they said it was a go-kart accident when he was a kid, I think in the Bahamas. And it was like this big bow, and their other leg was fine.
Yeah.
But he could jump through the roof. he put 50 on us.
Wow.
And we beat them by 30.
Oh my gosh.
Like that type of he was on this like real rich like team, like this little town, you know, Marblehead. He played for Marblehead.
Okay.
And I remember Rick would be at the games with like D Brown and like these people.
Nice.
Damn. Yeah, Bahamian people.
Yeah, all day, man. 242 to the world, baby. We had the number 1 draft pick in the NBA this year, DeAndre Ayton.
That's right.
He's Bahamian, so
Freeport.
That's right. So we're a small country, 350,000, but we hold it down. We do.
I got to go to Exuma. I've been to Freeport. I've never been to Nassau. I've never been to Exuma.
You got to go to Exuma.
It's so close to Miami. It's almost like I want to go somewhere else. And I always go somewhere else.
I mean, I hear you, but there's so many different family islands that you would just love. Eleuthera, Abaco is really rich.
Yeah.
Bimini is really close to Miami, as you know. You can see the Miami lights from Bimini.
Day trips out there people take all the time.
Exactly. So, yeah, try it out, man.
What do you want for Christmas? Seriously,
what I want for Christmas? I can't say time to sleep. I can't say that.
Nah, that sounds like a real one. I just don't want like world peace or something.
Oh, yeah,
everybody wants that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, yes, time to sleep.
What do you want? What does Myron Rolle want?
That would be good. I want my brother. I have a brother, McKinley. He's 1 year older than me. He coached college football at Garden City Community College. They went to
Long Island.
No, in Kansas actually.
Oh yeah. I think they played. My girlfriend's cousin plays junior college football out there, and I think he played Garden City this year.
Yeah, for sure. So
he's a coach out there.
Yeah, he's a coach out there. But the head coach had taken another job somewhere. So right now he's kind of in the midst of looking at other college positions. And so my Christmas gift would be for him to land somewhere and to get on. He's got a couple options out there. He's such a great dude. He was the linebacker coach, but the head coach went and took a job at I think Missouri Southern, a D2 school.
Okay.
And so my brother's kind of just waiting to see options out there, but I just hope he lands somewhere great because he deserves it, man. Hard worker.
How old is he?
He is 34.
Okay.
He went over to Oxford with me when I was there. He was my personal trainer. He lived with me in Nashville when I got drafted by Titans. We're best friends. Our parents used to dress us up alike, like twins.
He's the closest in age to you.
Closest in age, yeah. So it's like 3. I have 4 brothers. The 3 that are up, they're really high at 47, 45, 44, and then 30, 32, and 34. We're like the 2 that are down, but very close, man. And so my Christmas wish would be that he gets on somewhere.
Okay.
That's my man.
What's a typical Rolle family Christmas meal consist of?
Peas and rice, potato salad, turkey stuffing, and then probably some guava duff, just our dessert, and then whatever kind of drink.
What is duff? I know what guava is. What's duff?
So duff is like the sauce. It's like how can I put it best? You've had a Cinnabon?
Yeah.
So like the white stuff that's on the Cinnabon, like kind of creamy sauce. It's sweet like that. So that's kind of what it is.
Is it a pastry?
Yeah, it's a pastry.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like a pastelito. Like the Cuban pastry, it has guava and cheese, and it's a pastry. There's no cheese in it, though.
No
right?
cheese in it.
Okay.
No cheese. I haven't had it, but
that's a big Cuban thing.
Yeah, you sounded like you're from Cuba with that, man. That
Miami.
accent, boy. I see you. Okay, all right.
It's in Miami. All right, last one. Death row meal. It's your last meal on Earth.
Sausage, egg, and cheese, Texas melt sandwich, and hash browns, all
From
from
where?
Waffle House.
Waffle House?
Waffle
You're
House.
doing Waffle House?
The Waffle House. Last
That
meal.
is a death row meal. That is a serious death row
Waffle
meal.
House, baby, all day.
That's funny, man.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas as well.
Thanks
brother.
for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Nothing like a conversation with someone like Myron Rolle to knock you off your high horse. Talk about setting the bar high. Damn, I feel lazy. I have a few podcast projects I'm working on, doing some day trading, studying the stock market. I got my Hundo health and fitness stuff going on, training people. This is a perfect example of why you shouldn't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to yourself. Because in 32 years, he's accomplished more than most people will ever accomplish in a lifetime. There's so much we didn't talk about. there's so much to him as a person, not only the accomplishments and the accolades he's achieved in his life. Believe me, he's a very busy man. We've been trying for months to coordinate a time that worked for both of us. He squeezed me in over the weekend before Christmas when he was headed to the Boston Pops for the first time. So this is a very well-rounded young man. I hope everybody had a great Christmas and a happy New Year. I hope you enjoyed your guava duff and whatever else you consume to celebrate the holidays. I know I enjoyed my mom's baked stuffed shells and my dad's porchetta and calamari. It really was a great Christmas. I got to bring my girlfriend up to Boston for the first time to spend the holidays. She'd been to Boston, but it was her first time spending the holidays with us, so that was cool. Lastly, I want to touch on something that pertains to Myron. Something we didn't get to discuss on the podcast is Myron always talks about the 2%, and it's basically just giving that extra 2% to make yourself a better person or a better professional at what you do, better brother, a better father, a better son, a better mother. So as we look forward to 2019, I know I have a lot of aspirations and some New Year's resolutions. My challenge for you is to tell me what your New Year's resolutions are. What's that extra 2%? What can you do, or what are you trying to achieve or attain to make yourself 2% better in 2019? Comment under the Keepin in a Hundo podcast in the Apple Podcasts comment section. Leave your comments, leave your New Year's resolutions, leave your 2%. I'll read them next podcast. So thanks for listening to Keepin in a Hundo. Until next time, I'm Matty Hundo. Have a great 2019.
Check it out. Check it out. This here goes out to all of that be mad in other cribs. Think it's sweet. Creep up on your live expected. Check it. I kick flows for ya, kick down doors for ya, even left all my mother for ya. Just think Frankie whip, the picture that with the Kodak, Instamatic, we don't get down like that. Lay my game down quite flat. Sweetness, when you park that, petiteness, but that fat. She got a body, make her wanna eat that. I'm f***ing with you. The official though, dick harder than the missile, yo. Try to hit it if she tripping, disappearing like Arsenio. Yo, the push a double O with the 5 in front. Probably a conniving stunt. Y'all drive in front. I'ma peel with her, find a deal with her. She around and steal, huh? Then we all get laced. Televisions, Versace heaven. When I'm up in them, the shit she kick, all the shit's legit. She get from a player off the New York Knicks. Trick with your lust, was plush. She stressing me to like she was in the rush. In his bed, quite dangerous. I'm in his while he play against the Utah Jazz. My 112 CD blast, I was passed. She came twice, I came last. Roller. She giggled, saying I'm smoking on homegrown. Then I heard her moan, honey, I'm home. Yup, told Chrome for situations like this. I'm up in this broad, I know he won't like this. Now I'm like, you better talk to him before this fifth put a spark to him. Around, get dark to him, put a part through him, lose a major part to him. Arm, leg, she begging me to stop, but this cat getting closer, getting hot like a toaster. I cop the toast, Before my eyes could blink, she screams out, honey, bring me up something to drink. He go back downstairs, more time to think. My brain racing, she's telling me to stay patient. She don't know I'm cool as a fan. I don't wanna blast her man, but I can and I will though. I'm trying to chill though, even though situation looking kinda ill, yo. It came to me like a song I wrote. Told her, give me a scarf, pillowcase, and rope. Got dressed quick, tied the scarf around my face, roped the up, gagged the mouth with the pillowcase.